Hello, this is Whatsawhizzer. This is the Q&A for 2025. I've done like 10 of these by now. We usually do about 2 a year. I skipped last December because that was right during the time that we were completely redoing the site. I was like, it's just going to be a lot of criticism for things that are going to be completely changed within 2 months. So I didn't. So this has actually been a full year since I last did a Q&A and got people's feedback. Can you hear me? That's concurrent viewers. One. Well, can the one guy hear me? That's kind of what I need to figure out. Just make sure everything's working right. I'm not confident. Every time since it's so long between doing this, every time I come back to do it, I have to re-upgrade OBS, which is always has at least one upgrade within 6 months to a year, and then I have to remake sure every single chord is working. Last time I did it last year, the I'm not sure if it's live on YouTube. I don't think it is, and the reason is because the cord I had for my microphone was malfunctioning, so the audio kept cutting out. Um, I don't know. I only have one viewer. I know I didn't put as many warnings on this last time. I didn't think I would need any because I figured people, I mentioned it in the newsletter and any viewers. It was up to 3 right before I hit start. So what happened? Usually at least have 3 or 4. Okay. You're my one guy. That's great. I mean, it's fine. I'm gonna post it online anyway, and people can watch it anytime. It's not like the live part's really that necessary anyway. And some people will join a little later, probably. But if everything's working great, then I guess I'm gonna go ahead and move on with it. Um, I like to always start these things just by showing the site and what it looks like to me, because if you're not seeing what it looks like, and then there might be something going on wrong with the loading or whatever. You naturally won't have my admin bar up here, but otherwise, this is what the site's currently looks like. It's a lot different from it was even from our last survey, because I had a Cocoa Attic come and completely redesign the site. We used a brand new theme, and the new theme is updated all of the novel stuff so that everything works much smoother than it used to. I think there's one of the biggest issues with that change is that knowing where stuff is or how things work, because a lot of things that were used to be in kind of my classical setup are now a little bit hidden. The site, the only way I can do a newsletter now is this way because I don't have posts being announced. That's something somebody complained about because I don't. These chapters are done a different way than posts are. So for those of you who have no clue about web novels or rather WordPress or any of the internet stuff, you can kind of create two different types of pages. You can create, a website page and then a post. And the posts are a little more flexible because they're dated and they're. I mean, in some cases you could make them so they look exactly like each other and there's no difference. But generally, the a post would be like something like an announcement or a chapter was how I used to be doing posts. But with my new theme, the post is embedded within the novel, so it looks a little bit differently. I'm not gonna show you behind the hood because if you either will know it and you're fine with it, it'll all look like Greek to you. But the general point of it is that now I have like this section called manga, and then I create a series or a web novel, and then I post the chapters in that. So I don't actually make a post anymore. The only thing I make a post for is newsletters, and because of that, I don't have a way of announcing the newsletters easily. I've I announce them on Discord. I try to announce newsletters on Patreon, and I do it on Subscribestar. I don't announce them on X, but I've started using X for announcements again. So those are the ways you can get announced. If you're hoping I'll personally send you emails, the reason I haven't done that is that it costs a fair amount of money to do that. There's usually you have to have some kind of account that allows you to send out more than X amount of emails. So right now I think I can send out 150 emails a month. But if I wanted to be able to send, say, 1,000, I would have to spend like $100 a month to buy some kind of email, account system, and that seemed unreasonable just so that I can spam people with emails. Half of them probably don't even want them in the first place. So if you want announcements, you kind of got to come meet me halfway. You can go to Discord, you can go to X, or you can go to Patreon or Subscribestar. And if you're a member of Patreon or Subscribestar, they will email you because they do have email. So you can get an email that way through them, just not directly from my site. I mean, you do get emails from my site when you're messing around with your membership, but not like announcements and things like that. I don't have the number of emails possible to be able to send a mass email out to everybody who would sign up to it. So yeah, that's kind of how that is with the newsletters. I always leave the link right here so you can get to it. And then this is just every newsletter I've written since this site's been up. And then I've thought about bringing back the old ones. Maybe some of you can tell me what you think about that. Just having all the old ones, because I still have the original. Like, I have the original pages. I could come in and post them. I don't know if there'd be any gain to it, but people could see how writing looked like and what was announced in 2023, 2000. I think it goes back to about 2020. Before that, I don't think I have those newsletters anymore. But I could recover a fair amount of them if people wanted it. Like I said, there's no real gain in it per se, but if you really wanted to see all the newsletters since the creation of the site, that could be arranged. You'll have to let me know if anyone would be interested in that, just to go back and see where I started, or see what the announcements look like 10 years ago. Not 10 years ago, but 3 or 4 years ago. Anyway, the other thing that's being announced that I've heard trouble of is the premium polls. Premium polls are right here. If you aren't a $10 member or higher, you don't see this. I think this gets blocked out for you. But this is the poll if you want to take it. I know I have some pending. I just started working on Guy in a Spaceship like today. I got a chapter about a third written. I'm trying to get it out. I know I'm a little behind. There's certain novels right now that are just like writing more than other novels. Guy on a Spaceship and Getting Lucky just happen to be two novels that I'm kind of in a state of not really sure where I want to take them, and that's kind of what's caused them to be delayed. Although I did put out the gallery for Guy on a Spaceship. If you're interested in seeing that, the gallery, I just released it like literally a couple hours ago. So it's online now if you want to see what all the girls look like. I'm really content with what I was able to generate for those, and I think they look quite nice. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah, I was saying the other thing people complain about is this isn't getting announced reliably, and I know I'm not the greatest at making sure it gets released reliably every week. It's supposed to be released. I've started releasing on Mondays because I just don't like doing it on Sundays. Um, but sometimes I forget and doesn't get released till Tuesday or even Wednesday, which kind of sucks. Especially for people who are trying to keep on a schedule. I do announce it on Discord once again, but I haven't been announcing it anywhere else. I do not like the idea of announcing it on Patreon and Subscribestar. Because it adds a lot more work. I mean, when I say I gotta announce it at all those places, I've literally got to go to every single place and manually announce it. So it could take what could be a 5-second announcement and make it 10 minutes, because a lot of these sites, when I try to sign into them, they make you do that double stuff. They'll send you a code to your email, so even just signing in can be a chore. But if I get but even then I would be spamming a lot of people that may not even want it. Or I mean, I can narrow it down so it only shows for people who are in the right tier, so the people would be applicable to. You'll have to let me know if you care about that either, because that's another option. Like I say, I announce on Discord. I could announce it on X, but I don't believe there's a lot of people using X. I could also announce it on Patreon and Subscribestar, but like I said, doing that, because I only put an announcement once a month on Subscribestar to announce my newsletter. So just having 4 posts back to back, premium pulls out, premium pulls out, premium pulls out, premium pulls out, it feels kind of cringy to me. But I could do some things to mitigate that. Like I could delete the old post, and I could specifically make it so it only targets people who are in the $10 plus tier. So I might do that. I mean, we'll see. The biggest thing, like I said, is it adds a lot of time to an announcement that should be quick. And I have talked to Coco Addict about possibly finding some way to make the bot do it or something so that I don't have to. So all I have to do is type a button, and then it'll automatically post on Patreon, Subscribestar, and here. But we'll find out. I'm considering it. I know it's a concern to some people that they're just never told about the premium polls. So I will do my best. Anyway, there was one other thing somebody mentioned to me about how they didn't know how it was working. Oh yeah, somebody made a comment that they wanted some means of saving their system of their reading, so they know what the reading is. Yeah, that exists already. I just wanted to announce. A lot of people aren't aware of this, but when you go to here, my bookmarks, and I think I showed this last time too. You can bookmark any book you want, but on top of that, you also have your history, and it'll tell you the last chapter you happen to be on everything you've allegedly read. So that exists. I mean, I don't know what else you would want beyond that. But that's your history right there of reading on my site, and you can access it as long as you're signed in order to be able to do whatever you want to do. And then you can manually bookmark things too, which I don't know why that just happened, but you can manually do bookmark things too if you want, and that once again is built into the site. Also, let's just show you what a novel looks like. This might be one of the novels. So I made it so the gallery. Somebody made a comment that they were annoyed when that gallery shows up, but there's nothing in the gallery. It's kind of the same for ebooks. I probably should have them do the same for ebooks. Make ebooks disappear too. Yeah, I'll have to note that for Coco Addict. But if you're watching this ever, the ebook one should probably have the same disappearing act as the gallery. I changed this to review because I want more reviews here than I want people making random comments. But that's neither here nor there. That's just kind of my personal feelings on it. This should say show more. I know on some of them it doesn't say show more. I don't really know why. If you can't get to it there, I mean, you can reverse order it here, and then when you're in the chapter, you can always just pick where you need to be. That's the best I can give you. If you're having some other technical difficulty there, you got your comment section. That's been going fine. That hasn't been broken recently. We had some trouble getting it to properly separate comments for a while, so comments were everywhere. But since it's been working, and I do get comments, by the way. I got it set up so that I get text messages whenever people comment. So I absolutely 100% read all your comments. I may not track your comment back to the chapter and respond sometimes, but I do see them a lot more reliably than I used to. Because how it used to be is, I would be I could always check back manually and look for comments, but unless, like, if it was a comment on chapter 10 and I'm on chapter 100, I would never see that comment. But nowadays, because I always get those text updates from Discord, I do all see all the comments now. So anyway, like I said, I just like to show the site, show what it looks like, at least from my end. Other thing, ebooks. I added this because I think a lot of people weren't seeing the. Let me go check gallery. Guy. Here's a good check of proof for purchase. I just put the gallery here, so yeah, you do see a gallery now up here. There's a sneak peek of the gallery. That's all the girls there. But yeah, I like these pictures. They turned out pretty nice. Anyway, what was I trying to say? Oh yeah, ordering like ebooks. I need to see someone that has ebooks. You have ebooks, and this is an issue on my specific site. I don't know why. I've been talking to Coco about it. You can see it live, what it looks like. See, I hit F5, and it'll do that, and then I'll flick back. I got no idea why. And there it doesn't have the show more either. Don't even let me scroll down farther. But ebooks is what I wanted to talk about. Oh, it looks like it doesn't do that either. Wow. Yeah, this is not what you should be seeing. If you are seeing this, let me know. I think it's just me. I think it's just my browser. But do I have ebooks? Who do I have an ebook for that isn't going to give me weird stuff? Just any of my sites. I'm suddenly having a complete block. Kindred Paradise. I have. All right. So ebooks. All right. So right here, one of the things is you got your ebook, and then you have the buy. If you have a voucher, it says buy with voucher. Otherwise, it should say buy and then $5, and that means you're gonna buy it. If it says download, it should mean, presuming everything's set up right, that you already own it and you can download it. If you do own it, the easiest way to just download it or make sure you own it first would just be to go to your order history, and you'll see all the books you've bought and all the orders you've made since the site's been the new site. It doesn't have the old orders. If you bought a lot of chapters from me, I do not mind helping you restore what you lost. So don't feel like you have to buy everything brand new. It doesn't hurt. I mean, if you're a member already and you have the vouchers coming in, you might as well replace things. But if you have to, just contact me privately. I'll probably just set up a coupon that gives you the books that you need. You do need the receipt though. If you don't at least have an email receipt of the purchases, then I have no proof at this point that you bought the books. Anyway, the reason I'm going through and just showing you the site is because, like, someone always comes, the site's broken, or they say there's something wrong with it. And I'm like, well, it could be you, just like that one weird page on my dungeon life for me, where just one random weird thing. So if you're seeing a random weird thing and you're not supposed to be able to look like that, just let me know. if you're seeing that specific error on my Dungeon Life that I saw, seriously let us know, because I think it's just my browser doing a dumb thing, but it because that's even weird, because it shouldn't do that, because this isn't even my usual browser. This is my Whatsawhizzer browser. I don't usually use this one. I use my other browser, which is tied to my personal stuff. So this is my business browser. That's why the links are all different. Anyway, let's go on into the forums. I've been kind of rambling for a while. I do that quite a bit. Well, before I do that here, I just want to the other thing to show you, the other new cool thing is that we do have a YouTube channel, and it is putting out chapters. He's done the majority of the first volume. We're doing them in minute shorts, because that allows you to do it as shorts, and then eventually we're going to have all 50 chapters of the first volume out, and then we'll see where we'll go from there based on how popular it's getting. I feel there's a lot of I feel one of the biggest restraints I have is being able to find people who are interested in my books, and compel them to realize I exist. So I used to use Machine Sliced Bread, but Machine Sliced Bread's kind of slowed down now. There's Web Novel, but Web Novel really tries to prevent you. They really want you to use them, and they really try to prevent you from doing things like you can't make links on it. Scribble Hub and those kind of places also work, but I've reached a point where I'm trying to get a larger fan base. And I think things like YouTube videos might be my best bet here. So that's why we're doing it for the most part, and hopefully you can use them, or you like them, or you can listen to them. I know I do most of my listening to books on the way to school, or when I'm driving in the car. I'll use an audio text conversion AI thing, and it works well for me. So it'd be nice to have AI done stuff too. I've tried to do the voice stuff. I've tried to personally do it myself, and it puts too much stress on me and too much time that I don't usually have. I've tried to hire people, but the price is just way too expensive, and AI has just gotten to a point where we can do something that sounds good enough. There's a lot of people, when I'll do surveys on audiobooks, they'll be wanting some super cool like audio drama with sound effects and music and all kinds of crazy stuff. I think that's a bit extreme. When I'm doing it, I'm literally just doing it for people who are going to be in a car and they want to listen to a book or something instead of listen to music, and that's the only aim we have here. As far as doing it on the gaming background, that's more just because that's what a lot of YouTube stuff does. So we're just following that trend. Nothing more complicated to it. Our TikTok isn't doing as well, I've heard. It's not getting and it's pretty much zero. Instead of, a lot of these are 500, but it's 0, 0, 0, 0. So, and I don't know why it's so inconsistent. Like, here you got 94 and here you got 500. It's like, well, I mean, I assume if someone was going to be listening to us all the way through, then 94 is the number of people we've had. I don't know why someone would listen to one, not the other. But anyway, they'll keep releasing, hopefully, reliably. Old surveys, 2025 survey. I only got 57 responses. It wasn't what I hoped for, but I only gave it a week. In the past, I've given it longer, like 2 weeks. But it is what it is. So we'll go through it and see what happens. Oh yeah, and GAON, Guan. That's Cocoa Addict. So if somebody has some some issues you're having, you're welcome to troubleshoot with them in the comments while we talk. It's if he's willing. All right, so here are the responses for the survey. I figure we can move on. I usually like to find out where people get my contact, or where people find out about my content and how they get to it. Machine sliced bread, once again, is still where most people come from, even though I haven't really done much with them in a while. I got to admit, I don't really like what he did with the site about a year ago. It's not a big thing. I don't think anyone else would even care, but here, machine sliced bread. But he made the recent post thing super short. So this is like only 4 posts. It used to be like 8 or 10, and then he made it like 4. And I just like, that's not a lot of advertisement space, you know? It's only there for a few minutes. Although I am shocked my June survey is still there, because I posted that like 2 weeks ago. That means that Machine Sliced Bread is just not releasing stuff much anymore. The fact that my survey that was announced a week ago is still there, yeah, that's telling you something. So even though it's still my biggest shareholder here of bringing people to my site, it seems like it's not doing it anymore. It's kind of a dead site. That's why I tried light novel translations. That's why, light novels, currently where I'm posting I Reincarnated a Single Cell Bacteria, they get priority over my site and listing it. So I put stuff up on their site first, and post it through them before posting it on my site, because once again, the whole point is to try to get people to see my site, to make sure to see it if it exists. So that's the entire reason it exists over there. I'd love to just have it all posted on my site, but if I don't go out there, then nobody knows they exist. And if everything I have out there is just a copy of whatever you have here, it kind of doesn't motivate people to make the shift, if that makes sense. Anyway, Scribble Hub looks pretty good too. I got quite a few people from Scribble Hub, and that was normal. There was a brief period of time right when I started releasing my Dungeon Life where I was actually the top author on Scribble Hub. I managed to remain in top place for like 3 weeks, but what ended up happening was there's some really hateful authors on Scribble Hub who actually started attacking my work and writing like bad reviews and stuff. And I even was able to track one of these mysterious people who were writing bad reviews back, and he was 100% the guy who was like number 2 on the list. So he was the guy who was under me. So he was clearly doing it with an agenda, and just, I don't know, the vitriol there just kind of got me to the point where I was, I still post up there, but I'm not trying to be competitive or trying to be the top there anymore. Because you have to put effort into it. I can't just post chapters. There's a certain speed and reliability and something that, and putting out new stuff and that generates excitement that you kind of have to do to get seen on a site like Scribble Hub or a site like Royal Hub or Royal Road. And for the moment, I have a digital assistant who's posting all this stuff out there, and she just does a very, continuous, hopefully reliable. Hopefully they're coming out reliable. If she's not doing things reliably, let me know. We've been discussing possibly not needing her any longer, at least for the next 2 months. I don't know. I think once I fire her, I'm probably not going to be able to get her back if I need her later. So that's why I've been kind of hesitant and haven't fired her yet. But all she really does is just post all the posts for the month. It's about 5 hours of work. But but it's something I feel needs to be done. I don't even know how good of a job she's doing. I don't really follow behind her and check. I occasionally get an error. Somebody will email me and I'll let her know. But yeah. So it isn't just me. It sounds like there's that error is happening for other people too. So when I went to incognito, it actually didn't have the bug. The bug didn't follow the incognito mode. That's probably why he was asking. Um, I don't know. Hopefully now he knows it's more than just one person. We'll be able to find a solution. It's just that novel page. You can still read the chapters fine. So you don't even need to go there. Most people never even go to a novel page, except once. You can get the ebook some other way because I have the ebook store page, so you don't have to go there for the ebooks. You don't have to go there to select the chapters. You don't have to go there to get to the latest thing you read. So it's okay. We'll get it fixed when we can get it fixed. But anyway, moving on. How do you typically read my content? That's curious to me. I'm just curious how much people use the other stuff. I like how my site's set up. I've had other people complain. One of the complaints I get is that when it's in cell phone mode and you're reading a chapter, they'll claim that there's no real estate for your phone, that your phone is too small. I don't know. Can I make this do a phone mode? No, that's reading mode. I don't know how to do phone mode on here. I don't know. Wait, I do know how to do phone mode. I'm not gonna do it though. I'm not gonna do it. But it says that too much real estate is because there's bars on top and bottom. Those bars are removable. You can actually minimize them. They don't have to be there. I don't think the guy who said that knew that. Just pointing that out that if your screen of your phone is being taken up by everything and you don't have any room for real estate of reading, there are those things should be movable. There should be a minimizer that can minimize them like that, and then you'd have more space. That's where when you're in the chapter reading the chapter, someone says there's this thing right here or something. There's some screen or something not giving you a lot of real estate, but that shouldn't be the case. And if you're having that, that's not normal. That's not what it's supposed to be doing. Also, I don't know if I should plug it or not, but there's an app from I think Google called Reading Mode. That's how I actually listen to books, and that works on my site, and it does the same thing. It'll take all your text and put it on a screen that covers the whole phone, so you wouldn't have to worry about real estate if you had that app. I recommend. If you're having an issue, an app like that can fix your problem. But hopefully it's working. Oh yeah, he also mentioned that we do have a Play Store app. That I totally forgot about that. The Play Store app, by the way, contacts. Here's all the links, and the Android app's right there. You can get that whenever you want, and that would 100% resolve some of the issues you're having if your browser's not playing nice. Anyway, back to this. What story introduced you to your work? I expected My Dungeon Life. It's the one that's been launching out the most. It's the one that's been the freest. I got 24 volumes of My Dungeon Life out. I'm not surprised. In Apocalypse, I actually am surprised that Tales of a Seductress is doing good. Is actually one of the better ones. That does surprise me. Yeah, it's nice. Sometimes I see things I don't expect, and they are interesting. Like, this it's just a lot of spread of different books. Like if there was one book that stands out, My Dungeon Life. I'm already spending most of the time with My Dungeon Life. I think one of the comments below even says something like, "Spend less time on My Dungeon Life and spend more time on other stuff." But data like this kind of tells me that's not what people want. But you never know. All right, how do you access my content? This kind of sorts people. This question, I only do it because I sort people. People who aren't familiar with my content just kind of get shifted to the end of the survey. So I stop having people who are taking my survey who haven't read a single book. And I'm like, well, why are you in my survey? It was like, well, it was there. I clicked it. I'm like, all right, whatever. So that's how you get rid of that. And if you happen to be someone who is not paying, then you get through some non-membership questions. How well do you know my works? That sorts you out. I ask if people were previously paying, because I'm just kind of curious what it would take to get people to come back, why they left, and it gets sorted out pretty thin when you only have 57 responses. so there's not much I got that could inform me of anything. If I had gotten 200 or 300 responses, maybe I'd have enough content that I got an idea. But waiting to build up, don't like the payment options. So when someone says I don't like the payment options, I usually tell them about the payment options, but then he proceeded not to care, because I have a lot of more payment options than people think I do. Not only do I have everything that Patreon can handle, everything PayPal can handle, and everything that Subscribestar can handle, but I also have Stripe, and then on top of all those four, I am willing to make deals with people where I would exchange for, say, credit to Steam or an Amazon gift card or something like that. Like, I'm very amendable. My only requirement is if you're demanding of me that you want me to make a special exception, that it's at least for 2 months and it's at least a $5 tier. So I'm not gonna accept $2 gift cards. It's gotta at least be a $10 minimum. But as long as I'll sign you up for a year. You want to give me enough that you have a lifetime membership? We can work that out too. We've actually talked about that, by the way, having a lifetime membership. How much money it would cost? I was thinking it would be a lot. It would be like $1,000. But if you paid $1,000, then you'd have a lifetime membership. But for someone who's paying 12 times a month, that's less than a year of their normal membership. I have not set that up yet, by the way. I'm just saying that I've thought about setting it up. If someone is interested, if you are, like I said, once again, make a comment. Let me know if you're interested in seeing something like that. What's your favorite story from what I've written? Once again, my dungeon life wins. Once again, I'm a little surprised by Tales of Seductress, but maybe not, because if you think about it, this is just the non-members. These are the non-members people. So they haven't read a lot of the stories that haven't come out, or that are locked behind a paywall. So yeah, I don't know. But I'm glad people like it. I know, I think a lot of people feel the first book was a lot better than the others. I have to tell you, the first book was supposed to be the only book, and then I decided to write the others because people kind of begged for it. And that was way back when I first started. Tales of Seductress was like the first book I finished, and yeah, so it kind of did what I wanted to do. And I've tried to kind of expand on it. And the reason I took a break is I know where I want Tales of a Demon Queen to go, but I was just having trouble getting out chapters. And I'm kind of, like I said, I know what I want to happen. I don't know how to make it happen. And I guess more specifically, I don't know how to keep it feeling in spirit with the first book and that kind of stuff, because I kind of want to return to form, because the whole book is supposed to be about sex. It's supposed to be a very, a book that kind of just covers the full spectrum. And now that we're in the fourth book and at the late game here, and she's already, experienced everything from basically pregnancy fetish, which was the last book, concentrated on, to to torture and BDSM. I'm kind of thinking, where are we going to go here? And my thought was lesbianism. So the princess, it's like the last chapter of that book, is a dragon princess, and the idea is she kind of goes deep into the kind of lesbian relationships with people, and it's already kind of started that way, this novel, and I kind of wanted to continue to push it that way, but I'm I don't know. I guess I'm just having trouble figuring out exactly how I want that to progress, and get towards the ending of the story that I've wanted it to have. All right. So, which story would you like to see released publicly the most? So, I'm surprised Getting Lucky still wins. I mean, it hasn't been put out in a long time. I guess it sounds interesting to a lot of people. It was originally written purely to be the membership novel. Like back 3-4 years ago when I started it, the entire point of it was supposed to just be an extra bonus for those of people who are going to become members. So it was never intended to be given out for free. And then when Amazon came out with their version of Scribble Hub, whatever it was called, I put it out there with the idea of trying to make some money, and it made some good money. It actually did. They shut that down recently, by the way. I don't know if you guys even knew it existed, but Amazon tried their own version of web novels, and it flopped. I mean, it was so obscure. They didn't advertise it at all, and they're surprised it flopped. But they finally shut it down. I lost interest in it 2-3 years ago, and it finally shut down this year. But my site's a lot different now. I have 4 or 5 books I've written that are membership only books, and I'd probably be fine releasing Getting Lucky now. I don't think I'd have a trouble or have a problem with releasing it for free. So I'd consider it. Women's Pleasure Dungeon, would I release that for free? So my only issue with the releasing of it for free is I probably wouldn't want to release the images. I try, there's certain things on my site that it's better if they're locked behind a paywall, because they filter out people who can cause trouble. And you might be like, what are you talking about? Well, one of them is Patreon. I'm a member of Patreon, but they have these strict rules, and they do like policing people. And I've had my site threatened to be shut down because I had stuff on it they didn't like. But that stuff that they don't like, if it's behind a paywall, they actually don't see it. They can't see it. They're not members themselves, so so you're able to actually avoid getting some of the trouble that way. And yeah, that's why some things are locked, specifically because in the past I used to just put the stuff I wasn't confident with on Machine Sliced Bread, because Machine Sliced Bread's already a site with a lot of questionable content, and so I kind of use them as my filter. But now that my site's more, pretty much everything's on my site, and I don't have anything on there. Some of the stuff that's more extreme, I get a little squeamish about. And Women's Pleasure Dungeon isn't that extreme, to be honest. It could be more extreme, but it's not too bad. I certainly, when I conceptualized it or started it, it does start out with quite a bit of that, but it's sort of shimmered down into a more consensual fantasy than it started as, which is fine, I guess. Um, yeah, I don't know. I consider releasing it, but I definitely consider releasing Getting Lucky. Why are you currently not a member? This is a good question to ask. Can't afford. Perfectly reasonable answer. Simply don't want to is also the I don't trust memberships. This one is one I've been interested in because we've actually talked about doing a system of just selling coins and allowing you to just buy the chapters you want with coins. And that would be for somebody who doesn't trust memberships, doesn't like having something renewable. They just want a one charged payment. In which case you could buy tokens and then be able to unlock whatever chapters you want. We've discussed it. We haven't decided 100%. You guys might want. You can let me know in the comments if you have any thoughts on on that kind of. I don't like it because it gets into the microtransaction kind of feel, and it's what Web Novel does, and it's what Wuxia World does, and I don't really like doing that stuff. But at the same time, I'm almost thinking it might be necessary. Um, just to try to get more of a. And like I said, just to find people who are interested in memberships and who want to do the or who aren't interested. Sorry, my brain went off. Who aren't interested in memberships and who might be more willing to do something else like a one-time payment where they can buy a bunch of tokens and then just read what they want to read. We are also talking about, or I was talking about, opening up a second $5 tier. So the right now you have the $2 tier, which gets you up to silver, and then you have the $5 tier, which gets you everything up to silver, and then you have to go to $10 before you're finally able to get everything up to gold. But I thought maybe two $5 accounts. One gets you everything up to silver, and then a second one allows you to select one novel and get that all the way through gold. And so that was an option, but Coco Addict suggested it might just be easier to use coins and just to do a coin system. And I mean, I'm not sure exactly how it would work, but it'd probably be something like, a coin per silver chapter and 2 coins per golden chapter or something like that. So golden chapters are a little bit more, and I would probably see. Here's the thing. Ideally, in an ideal world, I've published some books. If you're interested in a book, you probably should just buy the book, instead of trying to unlock it in fancy ways. So if I did a coin system, like for something like say what am I trying to think of? Kindred Paradise or Coitus Exchange or one of those short books. If you could get that whole thing read for under $5, then it defeats the purpose of buying the ebook, right? So my thought is, at the very least, coins would need to be more expensive than the number of chapters there are. And probably the shortest book I have, well, there is Hero's Vengeance. It's done in these large parts, so it's kind of a shorter book. But then there's also that it's the brothel, just a brothel, and the Apocalypse one is only like 5 or 6 chapters too. So those two would be kind of on the short end of the stick, and somebody could, instead of buying the $5 ebook, they could just buy 10 coins and buy all the chapters. And so that's what I'm trying to avoid. That's what makes me hesitate, I guess, because I don't charge a lot for my ebooks. $5 for books in an age where most people are. You go to a store and it's like $12.50 for a hard. I try to keep my books down in price. I don't like, inflating the cost up. But yeah, I don't know. Anyway, are there any novels that'll get you back? Seductress sequels? Yeah, like I said, I think I'm about ready to return to it, but I'm still kind of in that. I'm waiting for an aha moment, a moment where my brain starts flowing and I get a good idea on how to progress for the next 5 or 6 chapters, and that just hasn't hit me yet, and that's kind of why Seductress has been sort of on hiatus. It will get finished. It's the last book. I even know exactly how it's going to end. I just wanted to get there because originally it was supposed to be 3 books. It wasn't even supposed to be 4 books. The reason it became 4 books is because, honestly, the book where it is now was supposed to be the 3rd book, but the 2nd book was actually the last 2 together. That's where it was supposed to end, with her killing the spoiler alert for her killing the Demon King, and that was supposed to be the end of the 2nd book, and then she was going to be the Demon Queen throughout the 3rd book, and it didn't end up happening that way, and the book ended up becoming 2 books, and that's where we're at with that. Anyway, why are you a member? I think most people are just there to unlock chapters. I was expecting more support for the non-writing content, and so that does surprise me that there's not as much support for that. And I appreciate everyone who just wants to support me as an author. I'm doing my best. I don't know. It's been tough these last 4 years. Like I was, in 2020 and 2021, everything was going great, and I was making tons, and I was in a very good place, and then I got a house, and ever since it's been just kind of a struggle. Once we moved out of the condo. The condo we were living in, by the way, wasn't even like legit. Like my parents bought the condo and they were selling it to me for much lower rent than the going rate. So a lot of the reason we were so comfortable was because we were getting benefits from my parents. I guess what I'm saying is it's not necessarily like I made tons of bad decisions financially or something like that. Although I did make a few bad decisions. I invested in Bitcoin, and you'd be like, well, Bitcoin's doing great. Yeah, well, I invested in a company, not FTX, but adjacent to FTX. Apparently, FTX lended them money. And for those of you who don't know, FTX was part of a big scan, like similar to Enron, to the point where the entire place got shut down. So the place I was using was called BlockFi, and the whole point of BlockFi was you could have an account with Bitcoin, but it would also earn interest. And I was like, hey, if I can just earn interest on my Bitcoin, then even whether my Bitcoin's going up or down, at least I'm getting more and more Bitcoin, and it's going to be great. And they turned around and shut down the site, and they wouldn't let you take your money out. And then they waited for the entire Bitcoin to crash, because Bitcoin crashed down to like 16,000. And then they locked in that rate and said, well, that's how much money you had in the account. And so then 2 years later, after holding on to it while they're going through bankruptcy, they hold on to my money for 2 years after locking it down. They wait for the Bitcoin to rise back up. So now Bitcoin's worth 70,000, and then they hand me the money based on when it was at its lowest, using what we have now that it's at its higher. So, and on top of that, the very act of it, they had fees that were as large as like 5%. So if you wanted if you owed $5,000, they wanted to charge you like $500 just to transfer it. So yeah, my $10,000 in Bitcoin became $4,000 in Bitcoin. But but I kept it as Bitcoin, and then it shot up to $110,000, and then I sold. I sold it recently. I think Bitcoin will continue to climb, but I decided to get off that wagon. But I probably didn't lose any money in the end. Is the long of it is. I sold just as it's about recovered, but had they not done what they'd done to me, had they not taken my money and literally, this multi-billion-dollar company who's supposedly supported by Gemini. That was the entire reason I was willing to send money to BlockFi, because it's supposedly part of this giant conglomerate that has their own insurances and is super rich and would never go into bankruptcy. One once and so and I'm sure those CEOs get $1 million cuts. Once that, like I said, I probably broke about even, but I would have been like 40,000. I would have been up 40 or 50,000 if I had just invested Bitcoin with someone else, because I was buying in it when it was at 20,000. I would have been pretty wealthy if I just done with someone else. Of course, I would end up with nothing if I had done with FTX. So, what ifs, could have, should have. But anyway, that's just my life. That's the things that kind of keep happening to me. Yeah, we had other issues. Our basement ended up flooding. It turned out every time we turned the knob on, the basement, like the water didn't come out the knob. Well, it did come out the knob. So you have your faucet on the side of the house. If you flip it, water starts. The water comes out, but the water is coming out on the inside too. But it only come out on the inside when you had the knob running. So we would flip the knob running to be watering plants or whatever, and it would be flooding our basement. And so we ended up getting someone to waterproof the entire basement. And by that point, it had already flooded badly enough that our furnace was destroyed. So we lost our furnace too. And on top of that, we had to spend, several $300, $400 water bills. So, it was just, and that was like a $20,000 thing to get the waterproofing done. And then just to get the furnace and the air conditioner working was another $14,000. And when we did the air conditioning unit, we found the air conditioning unit was sinking into the ground, and it turned out that the plumbing that we had running there had broken and was now leaking the sewage at the side of the house, causing the air conditioning. So we had to spend $4,000 to fix the fact my air conditioning unit was sinking into the ground. And after all of that, we found out that when we bought the house, they told us it was on city plumbing. It turns out it's on a sewer, on a septic tank. But that septic tank is over 30 years old, and it was never designed to be opened or drained. And they didn't bother they home built it, so they didn't even bother to get proper permissions to build it, and they just set it up to drain all the septic just down the hill somewhere. So instead of having the proper drainage, it's pretty much not a septic tank. It's a full septic tank that's just shooting waste straight down the hill into an open forest area. And I haven't fixed that one yet. I don't have another $20,000 to replace my septic, and that requires like city planning and stuff. I mean, that's a big project that requires a lot of people and a lot of permits. So that's what I was living with while my writing was going down. If you want to know, I think the long short of it is 2024 was a bad year for me. And that's what was happening in 2024. That's what I was going through. This year, things have and 2023, if we're being honest. But this year, things have been picking up. I finally got my office made. I'm really happy about that. I still haven't picked it up, but it's usable, and it's comfortable, and I'm able to write better here than I could. I was writing on my laptop for the longest time, and that was not not necessarily not just writing on my laptop, but writing on my laptop sitting at the side of my bed. It was not the most comfortable situation. Um, but no, things are on their way up. I feel things are going better. But how satisfied are you with your membership? So I said like 10. I think last time I said 5 was satisfied. Everything over was beyond satisfied. Everything. I just realized I don't really care about beyond. I just want to know if people are satisfied or not. So I'm happy with the 10s and the 9s. If you're getting lower, I feel like there might be a problem. And if you're under 5, you really ought to be telling me why are you not satisfied with your membership? What's going wrong? And I'm not sure if I even have that answer below. Get the monthly free ebook system to work. It's been working. I found out that it was not working for yearlies for the reasons I mentioned in Patreon. If you don't want to go to Patreon, the short of it is when we established the yearly memberships, the thing that gives you the free ebooks doesn't understand membership renewals of yearly are different than membership renewals for monthly. So it would only give you a free ebook every time it renewed monthly, but when you went to yearly and it said 1, it would only give you 1 ebook. So I just changed that by multiplying the number by 12. So now you get 1 for each month. You get them right away as soon as you become a member, and you can spend them whenever you feel like. Plain and simple. So that system works as far as I know. If there's something else going wrong with it, you need to contact us. I can't help you if you don't contact us and tell us what's wrong. More MDL. Also, don't forget Enslaved. Enslaved is progressing. I have somebody who just emailed me before this who's been working on going through, because I needed someone to just go through and compile the information so I don't have things wrong, like people's appearances and stuff. I've had people complain, especially with Enslaved, that like breast sizes are changing and things like that. And that might happen with sometimes, especially when I don't have a good vision of what they look like in my head. Someone, 20 chapters ago, I described them as flat chested, and then 20 chapters later, suddenly they're quite busty. And I don't like those mistakes. I hate making those kind of mistakes. I try to fix them. Honestly, I find the easiest way to fix them is just make the images. Because once I have an image, I just use the image. I describe the image. Because then I do have an image in my head once I've generated the images. So all those guy on a spaceship images, I mean, a lot of those people you might be like, wow, I didn't know she was orange or whatever. I'm like, and that's because I didn't really have that in my brain until she was finished. So I know there's some characters that are not necessarily described properly, and it might have made more sense that they were, and then they weren't. So I was just gonna go to Guy and kind of compare, like I absolutely know. I love the picture of Boss. That is exactly how I would have imagined her. I really like that picture. One of my favorites. But yeah, I don't think I ever described Nixel as being purple. Dixie, I know she wasn't originally pink. I decided making her pink just made more sense. For the most part, the other characters were all accurately described. I don't think there was Aza. I don't think she was ever mentioned as being blue until later. So, I mean, that just kind of comes with the territory. It's like if I try to introduce 10 girls up front and I just don't have the full idea of them, it kind of just comes later. More mom-son incest stories. That's kind of funny to me because for every person who wants the more incest stories, there's other people who just absolutely despise or don't want them or hate them. And so I never know. I like writing the stories. I think they're fun. But but I do know that they're not. If my intent and my desire is to continue to service a crowd, I don't know. I mix between coming into a niche and just being part of that niche, or making things that are more accessible to everyone else. And I'm not trying to go ridiculous here, where I'm like EA or a video game studio trying to make things more accessible to people. But at the very least, I do try a little bit more illustrations. Those will come. Like I said, I just got galleries out today. Consistent releases, I 100% understand. I have not reliably been putting out anything in probably 3 years. I don't think I've stuck to my 9 o'clock schedule. I get most things. I have recently been getting most things done same day or within 24 hours. But there used to be a time, 3 years ago, where everything released at 9 o'clock. And I did that reliably for at least a couple of months. It's not necessarily easy. Well, part of it is just you have to be writing a week ahead of your fans. And part of the issue with that is if you end up writing things the fans really hate, it becomes harder to take a step back and, kind of fix it if you're already 2 or 3 releases ahead. And part of it is just, once I have something written, I'm inclined to want to release it. And there's kind of that resistance I have to putting it out. I mean, the way I originally saw it was when you're paying for the higher tier, it's literally called the early access tier, or it used to be the gold chapters used to be early access tier, because you got them early. The whole point was that you didn't, that they were already like something that you're not supposed to have yet, that technically just the tip is where it's released at. So anything that got changed with early access, any additional editing, is fair game, because it's an early access. It's like an early access video game. You can't fault that for having glitches. But I don't know. I was just thinking about it. Concentrate on more than just MDL. See, that's the exact opposite of that other. Then we just see a comment, more MDL, and now here's another. No, less MDL. Do other stuff. So you can tell, like if there's a pattern here, I'm happy to follow patterns, but sometimes there's just a lot of contracting data, things that are contradictory to each other. Automatic synchronization with Patreon. I don't know what he means by that. We already have the sync button. Does he mean he wants it to sync without having to touch the sync button? It's really just one extra click. There's not much of a way I could make it more automatic. I don't really know. Running out of books to read. Okay. Well, I get right faster. That's the only thing I can do. More frequent updates. What? More frequent updates? I don't know. Does she mean updates of the chapters? I mean, I do a newsletter every month, and then I do this every 6 months. So I don't know quite what that means. More chapters per month. I used to do more per month. I've actually felt like I've wondered a little bit why I can't seem to get my number up, because there was a time I was doing about 2 a day, and now I'm doing about 1 a day, and still struggling to keep up. I think the premiums, they add 1 a week, and those build up real quick. And then there's the bacterium, the I reincarnated single celled. Those are not officially on my list, because they're not sorted by days of the week, which annoys the crap out of me, by the way. I really hate how they do it like every 80 hours or something like that. I'd much rather, why can't you do it every 24, 48, 96 hours, at least, so it's the same day every week would be nice. But I don't know. Yeah, I don't know uh, how to get it up. But I know Bacterium does tend to drag me down because I'll be ready to start something else. I'm like, no, but Bacteria, I need to write another chapter of that. Even right now, I just put out a chapter, and it was due today, so it's already gone. By the time I write the next chapter, if I write tomorrow, I might be ahead for a little bit, but I would almost need to write. I need to be like 5 or 6 chapters ahead. I used to be, but things happen, and regretfully, Bacterium, unlike everything else in my list, is part of somebody else's schedule, not my schedule. So I can't skip a release and just deal with it. Like if I skip a release, then I'm a release behind, and I have to catch up. Um, and I don't have any choice other than to just not be part of light novel. I mean, he does give me an offer. He said that he could pause it for a while and allow me to catch up, manually. And I've considered taking him up on it. But I'm gonna have more time starting next, like in 2 weeks. Um, Starting like the 15th or whatever. I'm just gonna have a lot of free time. And so hopefully I should be able to write more. More unlocks with less money, but I'm also poor, so I don't know. I get that some people want gold. They want all of it for the $5 because I mean I went from having everything at $5 to having everything at $10. But at the same time, everything's getting more expensive for everybody. I'm still probably one of the cheapest as far as people I've seen. I mean, I see people who will charge you for one book. They'll charge you, you know, $5 to read one chapter ahead, $10 to read 2 chapters ahead, and then they'll be like $100 to read 20 chapters ahead. I mean, I've seen that on certain sites. I think I'm doing pretty good here with only demanding $10 for everything I own. If you were to pick one chapter a week, what story would you want it to be? Women's Pleasure Dungeon. So that's another push towards this being the one that I should start releasing. In fact, based on this survey, I really am thinking about changing up my schedule. I'm really thinking Women's Pleasure Dungeon might be picked up as a weekly, and then I don't know. It's hard to say because nothing on the list currently are things I think most people want to see dropped, and so the only option would be to write more. And I'd love to write more, but you know, if it doesn't come with the monetary attachment to it, it's kind of difficult to go that route. That's what's nice about the sponsor. At least when they get sponsor chapter, there's a direct correlation to the write more and me having extra money, even if that's not equal to what I can make with memberships. I don't know. I would like to write. I mean, trust me, I want to be writing this stuff as much as you guys want it written, but some things it's just difficult because things keep coming up. What tier level is your membership? This question used to lead you to a bunch of tier-specific questions. I don't really have any this time around, so it's just kind of, it gives me a good idea of what people's tiers are at. Seems like most people are power fappers. At least that took it. I actually think there's a lot of just the tips, but I don't think any of them took it, which is kind of a shame. Describe any dissatisfaction you have with your tier. Now, this was a good point I was very interested in. He was basically saying that once I, well, this is the one that said the ebook system, and this wasn't the one I'm talking about. But this one's the ebook system one. It should be working now. As far as I know, it's working. There isn't an issue. If there is more issues, please contact us because it's something we'll have to solve with you manually. I just want to be able to up to date. I've been good at releasing the silver. You're getting one a week. You're just not getting the extra ones. I mean, all that big list of all those extra MDLs, those were all premium chapters. So those weren't chapters that would have been written if they didn't win in a premium poll. You would have been at the silver chapters, or maybe two. There might have been two gold chapters. I tend to like to have two ahead. That's what happened. Is when a premium chapter comes out, I write an extra chapter on top of the chapters that are already due, and now we have 3 gold chapters, and then 4 and 5. So every time premium won, another chapter would appear as gold. So most of the sites that have more than one gold chapter, those chapters wouldn't have existed if premium didn't. It's not like I'm writing chapters and depriving from you silvers who are they're extra chapters, that went beyond. And so it's nice that kind of makes the gold more tempting, but you're not losing out with your silver. You're still getting your one a week or whatever. It's just you're not getting the extra. And I'll be honest, I haven't been doing well with the extras lately. Those are actually probably from 6 months ago or a while. Because even when an MDL comes out, because it's been good the last couple of months, but like before I finished my office, I was having trouble doing 3 MDLs a week. I can't even remember how I used to do 5. There was a time I was doing 7. I used to do an MDL 7 days a week, and that's one of the reasons it was so popular, is because I just had so many releases. That's also why I think Bacteria is popular. Why I Reincarnated Single Celled is popular, because it has so many releases continuously. So that continuous releasing does help. But there are some stories I'm writing that if I were to continuously release, they would just be done. And I know some of you are like, well, yeah, I want it done. But, if I get it all written in 2 months and it's just done, then, then you leave. And there's no more incentive to it. Like, so Women's Pleasure Dungeon is a very long written one. There's actually going to be a lot of chapters to Women's Pleasure Dungeon. That's one of the reasons I don't mind putting it out for free. In fact, I think I do. I think I don't for sponsors, but whenever there's a premium coming out, I think I have been releasing it. So I think the first 2 or 3 chapters are releasing, but it only releases like one a month at the moment. If I add it to the weekly schedule, it would release faster. But when it comes to Women's Pleasure Dungeon, that one's a very long-winded. But Oops, I Begged Your Mom is not. Like, that story has an ending, and that ending, I don't know how long it's going to be. I just know it's not going to be one of these ongoing, just how I design stories in my head, how I think of them. That's a lot of the problem with something like Getting Lucky. Getting Lucky was a very broad, long story. It was never written with an ending in mind. So that's why that's kind of why I got a little stuck with Getting Lucky, because it's already gotten to the stage. It's 150 chapters in, and I'm not quite sure where to take it at this point. Guy on a Spaceship, kind of similar. I wrote that first volume, and then I just don't have enough sci-fi experience necessarily that I'm quite sure I know where to take it next. But when it comes to Oops, They Begged My Mom, I know where it's going to eventually go. He's already got over half the girls, so it's probably about half done, and it's going to be done in about 80 to 100 chapters is when it's going to be done. And then so if somebody wanted to spam release me, or if I started releasing it once 4 times a week, or heck, let's say double that, let's say 8 times a month, then you're going to end up, I'm not going to have very much content left. It's going to be done in 3 months, and then people are just going, oh, I got what I wanted, and I leave, and that's kind of it. So As bad as it is to say, there is certainly uh, a reward for writing things slower and a punishment, seemingly, to quickly write something and quickly get it finished. And so, at least when it comes to sponsor chapters, like I said, there's a monetary benefit to writing things faster that you don't necessarily get uh, just by writing more as part of a membership. And I've tried, with with getting people to write more. I mean, when I first started, I was like, I will write WoW Volume 2 if I get this much money. And then Patreon jumped up to that much money. It was great. But since then, I've been like, I will write 2 apocalypses a week if Patreon gets up to this amount, and it doesn't. Part of that is, like I said, my money is so divided into so many categories. I have your what do you call it? I have Patreon. I have Subscribestar. I have PayPal. I have Stripe. So all of those are members, but they're not like all added together like in a very clear and concise manner. So I don't know, I can use Patreon as a comment, but it could just be people are leaving Patreon and going to become PayPal members, and I don't really know. So it's hard to make promises that based on, if you get that many more memberships, I'll write more. And B, if I write more, there's no guarantee I'll get more memberships. So as much as I want to say, as much as I want to be like, if I get the X amount of members, I will start Enslaved and I will write the next volume of Enslaved. That worked when I first started, like the first year or two, but since then it just doesn't work. I don't have the same enthusiasm from the fans as I used to, and I just don't have a adequate way of measuring it. Hey, I don't know. Maybe Coco can come up with something. Like, is there some way you can take? Yeah, you could probably do that if you could just measure all of the memberships, add the money, and create a kind of guesstimate of how much I'm getting from memberships. Like, is there an app that we could build for that? Kind of like the news launcher or the site scraper, just something that can give me an estimate on how much all of the sites are making for memberships alone, because there's also going to be sponsorship money getting mixed in. There's also going to be ebooks that sell. So to not factor those in, just use my site as the basis. Assume my site, the members that are on my site that are paying members are the members on my site that are paying members, and then just make some kind of algorithm that adds. I mean, like I said, an estimate's fine. It's just I just want a basic. You are making X amount on memberships. Oh, something to look into. I think that might solve the problem. Now, could I use that in order to encourage people to become members? I don't know. We'd have to develop some kind of bar like the sponsor bar with the membership bar, and then have a goal set for me to write more if my I mean that might be possible using the sponsor. What you do, so you need to first create the algorithm, calculate how much money is being made for membership, create a bar that shows that, and then just say if memberships reach. But then that calculation would have to be continuously made. It would have to be a continuous calculation, and then when somebody becomes a member, they get added to that calculation. I don't know. You're gonna have to tell me if that's possible. if he's even still here at this point. Yeah, you're just gonna have to let me know. It's an idea I just had because the idea would be just to like have a bar. This is how much, and if it gets to this, I will start writing this book, and if it gets to this, I'll start writing this book. But that leads to my second problem, which is that everyone wants a different book. Some people want more MDL. Some people want Women's Pleasure Dungeon. Some people want Tales of a Seductress, and other people want Enslaved. Just a big mixture. Anyway, moving on. I talk for, these are usually like over 3 hours, so hopefully I can get done in about the next half hour, and we'll just cut it at 3. As long as I stay focused, stop rambling, I think it's possible. Would you prefer a $5 tier that accesses all books versus a $5? That was one of the ideas I mentioned earlier. Yeah, about even on who wants. Like I said, if it leaned one way substantially, I could just be like, all right, that's the direction to go. But even when I said make both, like, you'd think everyone would pick make both, because then you get both tiers, but that's not what ended up happening, right? So most people like the $5 tier doing what it already does. And then some people wouldn't mind if I added the other tier. And then there's less people, but only 2 less. Once again, this is only out of 557. This is what I'm telling you guys. If a lot of people would have a big major influence if they just did it. I got 300 people willing to give me money, but I only got 50 willing to tell me what they want for the money they're giving me, you know? Oh, what kind of erotic content do you like? This is more just a general... Now, I usually didn't see vanilla content as being the major one that won, so this is actually new to me that there's more vanilla. I think the big takeaway... And there's a fair amount of incest, too, which, like I said, I've always played with the incest. That leads me to another question, if somebody wants to chime in. My dungeon life, I'm reaching a point where it could get incesty, and I'm trying to figure out if people... I think there's a question later, we'll see in this bit. I'm trying to see if people are going to be on board with that, or if it's going to like cause people to mass flood away from my dungeon life. It's my biggest novel, so I am concerned that if I write something too causing... And then dubious consent, which is, you know, the big R. Yeah, lots of stuff. This one says, I enjoy MDL in the early days, lots of action, love the chapters at the end of each volume. Yeah, I've been having trouble figuring out how to do the erotica at the end of each volume reliably as the stories continued, especially recently, because recent volumes have been spilling into the next volume. It used to be very confined volumes, but at least the last 2 or 3 volumes, it's kind of one right after another with no resting period. And so it's been a lot harder figuring out where to have a sex scene. Vanilla is great. Hardcore is great. Like I said, that's pretty much what I write, those 3. Some people say I write... I don't do a lot of BDSM. I've tried a little bit, but I'm not experienced with it, let's just say. And no, I'm not experienced with that either. But at least, yeah, that gives me an idea that mostly that what I write is what people want. But that's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy too. Of course, my fans are going to be the people who want what I write. Otherwise, they wouldn't be my fans. How do you want sex scenes to play? This is kind of one of those another ones. If I saw like a big difference, for example, what I would have, like, if erotica's reserved for non-essential bonus chapters was like 50% of people, then I would probably start doing that. But it's a very small amount. Most people will go from full chapter to half a chapter, so that's telling me to keep doing things kind of the way I'm already doing them. There's no one that wanted it fade to black, and there's very few who wanted it cut down to just a few paragraphs. Most people want the whole shebang, and very few people want the shebang moved to bonus chapters. Like I said, if this had gotten all the votes, so you were saying, let's just put the erotica in the bonus chapters like MDL, I'd start doing that for other books. I would definitely consider that's one of those things, like that's how it would have affected me. But no change is the answer I got here. I typically do about half a chapter to a full chapter of erotic scene. And I see no reason not to continue to do that. How my story's been evolving, don't read it, just so people aren't, mocking there. The things I'd mostly be looking for is if orange was getting larger than blue. Because if more people are saying it's getting worse than is getting better, about the same, there's going to be everyone who just thinks things are the same, and that's fine. And I saw none of the stories where there is a substantial amount of people say it's getting worse. My dungeon life is got the worst of it, but once again, my dungeon life is also the most popular, so that's kind of just how it's gonna be. To be honest, this is probably too new to really have people saying it's getting worse because it's not been around very long. Getting lucky, I get it. Any story that's been around a long time, and not been written all at once. I'm surprised Guy in a Spaceship that doesn't have any getting worse. I guess people like The Last Ark with the pirate, and I introduced the last two girls. That's kind of what the last 15 chapters have been about, just introducing Pandora and Lena. But that's then I hit a snaggle. I know I vaguely know what I want to do with Fairtight and her family. I'm still trying to work it out in my mind, but I did start writing it. I got about 1,000 words today, and I will try to get a premium chapter out eventually. Maybe tonight. Who knows? Depends how I feel. How do you feel about my writing as a whole over the last 2 years? This time I did say 5 is even. So most people feel I'm getting better as an author. So I like that, but it also makes me wonder because I'm not getting more memberships as an author. So I've been continuously making more books, which everybody wants to read, and supposedly the writing in those books has improved, but I'm still not getting more memberships. I've been kind of dwindling for the last 2 years. It's been kind of not dropping, but not raising either. It's been floundering around, not changing. For the people who do think I've been getting worse, I would love to know why. Because there's at least 6 people claiming, at least 2 people claiming one person claiming I'm getting substantially worse. Yeah, I'd like to know what's wrong, but there's always going to be people who are going to be naysayers and stuff. This is just what name a book, why you gave it up. I know a lot of people gave up Master Dragon because it was too dark. That was probably one of the darker books I wrote. I actually liked it. It was a lot of fun to write. I like writing fun, dark stuff sometimes. And it's not really like I have some perversion towards it. It's just more interesting to me than a generic love story. And while I say I like writing it, it doesn't mean I like reading it. I've told people before I don't read a lot of erotica, but I certainly write it. I reincarnate a single-celled organism. A lot of people might not have given that a chance. It's a very low burn novel. I'd say only about now is it starting to get into what it's about. Because the novel took a very long time to get. You see, he says, it started out quite and got better, then seemed to stay the same. I'm like, well, what's wrong with being the same as goodness? If it was even better than its beginning. I don't know. Stop MDL. Yeah, people are just gonna. There's no way you could ever, you know, if you're the longer you write, the more people you're gonna lose. It's just gonna be that way. Um, Even if you manage to keep the quality up, it's just, you know, some people like that really, really, really long story that just allows them to keep going on and on and on. That's one of the reasons I read probably more Zenzias these days than I read Isekai, because I like the long running story where things just keep going, everything changes, and then you think back where you started. It's like, wow, I can't imagine, you know, how things were back then, you know, compared to where the characters are now. I think MDL's that way. Apocalypse is probably going to be that way, although it's not gotten that far into it yet. But it's probably going to have a lot of volumes too. Yeah, it's just kind of, people are just going to, you're going to write something they didn't like, or write a volume they didn't enjoy, and they're just going to lose interest. And not much I can do about it. You didn't like the change from brothel to home for Lost Girls. So yeah, that one's interesting. The Demon World brothel, she didn't like that. Yeah, I realized at some point that the main cast of girls, the ones that he's banging, are not going to be able to be the prostitutes, or it's going to be, our people are going to scream about NTR too much. And so they started getting turned into kind of the matriarchs, the madams of the brothel, and then there'll be other girls who are nameless who will end up being, or they'll be named, but they'll just be not, they'll not be the harem. I don't know. It was kind of the problem from the moment I started that story. It was always going to be that issue with, how do you have a harem without cooking the MC when the girls are all prostitutes? That's the question. Stop Recent Guy, I just did not like the protagonist. Yeah, he's a little bit different than a lot of my other protagonists. Just more of a meathead. Who's just kind of like singularly focused on his own stuff. Master and Dragon was my cup of tea. Dragon Slave one, yeah, a lot of people. I said, Getting Lucky, too young of a girl included. Yeah, well, I'm not necessarily comfortable with those scenes either. They're kind of relics from earlier when I was writing, because I was trying to replicate a lot of Japanese isekai at the time, and there are a lot of lolly jokes. So you put the lolly in there to make the jokes. Did not give up yet, so I don't know. It feels in a weird spot. Yeah, I wouldn't say random people are more powerful. I say he's just kind of opening up to a wider stage and realizing, you know, he's a big fish in a little pond. I think that's kind of the point of where he is now. And like I said, all the arrogance was intended. I've been building that up, hopefully, for like 3 or 4 volumes, where he's just been growing more and more arrogant. And so this last volume where it all blew up in his face, that was intended. That was the culmination of about 3 or 4, you know, volumes of build up. And then like I said, it's going to involve him hopefully learning, and at this point, after he gets past this obstacle, I think he's probably gonna mostly win till the end of the book. I think well, there is gonna be one more thing that's gonna suck. I do have one more planned event that, spoiler, that the people won't be happy about, but it probably won't necessarily be his fault. Just something he can't stop. Spoiler. Yeah, Automatic Girlfriend. I stopped regularly releasing it. I like it. The story is okay. You know, I had a little bit where I was struggling to write more, but I got past that, so that's going forward fine. Is there a story you'd like to donate more if you saw it picked up? once again, Women's Pleasure Dungeon. This is telling me Women's Pleasure Dungeon is the one I should start doing weekly. So if there's any chapter I do pick up weekly, it'll probably be Women's Pleasure Dungeon. What I'd like to do, or what I'll probably do, is I'm probably going to finish releasing the Zoo this month. And then I will switch to Women's Pleasure Dungeon. And I'll still try to get Power of Creation released on Saturdays as well. So it'll be Women's Pleasure Dungeon, and that's probably what I'm going to do. But I'm going to release the Zoo first and get that finished. That's the Zoo. To be fair, the Zoo's already pretty much finished. I'm just going, like, I have the story written, but I'm rereading it and rewriting it to get it to before I put online to make sure everything's there. So it's actually, it actually could be put up tomorrow if I really wanted to. I just, for whatever reason, I haven't been, and yeah. Down in Ohio, I wish more people like Down in Ohio. I actually really do want to write this one. I'm very eager. It's a story I've wanted to write in a long time. Putting aside the fact that it makes a lot of Ohio references and it's kind of a joke about Ohio, it's basically going to be an apocalypse, regressor story where the main guy in the apocalypse is able to get all the supplies and all the good rewards and be OP, and that's the kind of story I'm writing there. There's a lot of stories written like that, mostly. I can't think of any of the names, but yeah, and I would love to see it, continue on. Friend Zone, I'm still kind of, I don't think Friend Zone's right here. I'm still trying to kind of. I know what I'm going to do next chapter. Like, I came up with that arc, and I'm really happy with what I wrote there. I actually have a good idea what's going to happen, but it's still kind of trying to find its voice. I was originally going to send it down the direction of Hellbound, but then I got well, let's move on, because I do have a question on how I think Hellbound gets mentioned, and I'll talk about it when I get that. This is a meaningless question. If you ran into this question, which I don't think anyone who would be watching this did, this was purely advertisement. This was just. Oh, I guess you guys did see this question. Yeah, everybody would have saw it. But yeah, this is just to tell you what we've been doing, so you know what's going on. Because not everyone reads newsletters or anything, so I kind of dual use this as my my little advertisement. So sorry about that, but that's all that was there for. There's no. Have you heard about these? It's like, yeah, it's just. I just wanted you guys to know what we've been doing, what Coco Addict has been doing, what I've been doing that is now done. How's the website doing currently? Meets most of my needs. Meets all my needs. It is difficult to use. So the two people who feel it's difficult to use, I hope they give me a good comment of what's wrong. Usually you don't hear back from the people who complain. That's the problem. So I never know what's wrong. That they feel this. Usually it's the person. If I'm being honest, it's usually you. Not you, but the royal you. It's usually the person that's having the problem. That's the cause of the problem. Just like me. I mean, I'm not blaming him for this issue here. I presume it's something. But then again, you said you're seeing the same thing, but I still say it's some in our browsers is just screwed up. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Anyway, in the last updated website, the recent releases feature has disappeared. The recent releases is right here. It's working. Briefly, he was putting a bunch of posts to test things. Oh, by the way, another thing for you, Coco Addict. The tests you were sending out, the test series you make, they all got updated, and now they're part of my app. So my app has like 4 or 5 series that just are called test. I don't know what's going on there. Anyway, so yeah, this works. It briefly stopped working when we update. Basically, we updated the theme, and he had made a lot of modifications to the theme in order to make it look like how I wanted it to look, and then that happened. When we updated it, it undid all of his stuff, and he had to basically track down all the edits he made and fix it. Now I'm hoping he wrote down what all the edits he had to make were, so that the next time we update the theme, he can do it quicker. But I don't know. Hopefully it'll get easier the more we do it. But we had to update the theme. It was actually causing issues. We weren't able to upload images anymore because of the theme. Yeah, I don't know. See, I do this, and it does that, right? But then I go to incognito mode, and then I go there, and then it doesn't do it. See, so my incognito mode actually fixed it. So I don't know. Don't know why. That's a thing. Anyway, all of the difference is I'm not signed in. Maybe that's the issue. I don't know. It is a bit confusing. I need more clarification than that. I don't know what that means. I can't open the gallery section since 2 days ago. 2 days ago was when he would have changed it so that the galleries only showed up if it was full. I'm wondering if. Okay. 15 minutes. Sorry, somebody knocked on my. See, right back to work again. And I don't know. I can't use this because this thing's broken. So I can't even look at the gallery now. If somebody else looks at the gallery and it's working fine, then I don't know what he's talking about. But if other people are having trouble watching his gallery, then I need some time to figure it out. You guys think you can help over? Yeah, he's he's saying it's probably his PC. I don't know. It might be. It might be us. We'll see in a second. I guess if the gallery's working or not. You had more confident on the prior site that you have. Yes, this is another big one. I do plan to restore some of that. I definitely want to add the comics back. As far as the comic books that I was selling, I guess I can try to add them back too. You know, I really want to see how novel AI can handle making comic books, but it's another one of the things that's just going to take a lot of time. Because you don't think it's going to take, but you can spend, just that gallery took me like 2 or 3 hours to put together for guy on a spaceship, and then another 2-3 hours on top of that, just me going back through the images and adding the names in and putting them into the right format and then entering it into the thing, and like all of that took like several hours on top of generating the images in the first place took several hours. So it's just it's a time process. Honestly, I should probably make my digital assistant do it. Make my digital assistant work harder. But I didn't. Because, well, part of it is just I don't. I personally want to be involved with some of the stuff. Like if I give the things over, I can't look through. Like I had generated all the images actually a while ago, like before we switched over the site for the guy in a spaceship, but there were a couple of those images I didn't like, and I kind of realized it as I was going through that I didn't really like them, and maybe I just settled for them because I was having trouble generating at the time. One person, for example, Diatom, the orange girl who has 3 boobs, for whatever reason, novel AI will not generate 3 boobs. It'll generate 4 boobs. It will never generate 3 boobs. I cannot get it to generate 3 boobs. In the end, if you do look at her gallery image, I just have her back facing the camera because I couldn't get it to generate 3 boobs. But yes, so things like that. It takes a lot of time to generate galleries. And like I said, sometimes I'll see an image and I'll settle for it, but then I'll come back later. I'm like, nah, I want a better image than that. So then I I have to update it, and I don't get that if I just hand it off to somebody else to do. They won't necessarily go through it and be like and make the same decision as me. So, same with things like editor. I can send stuff to an editor to have them fix it, but they might not notice things that I would notice, like plot holes. Like I'll read something, I'm like, wait a second, didn't this guy do this? And I can fix that plot hole, but most editors would ignore it. I've even sent people through my book specifically to look for plot holes, and they'll still miss some of them. So, because they'll get into the reading and they'll concentrate on the reading instead of finding the plot holes. So, I don't know. So should I have read Enslaved on my own? I should, and I don't know why. I just can't seem to sit down and read Enslaved. Somehow that's the point I was trying to make. That I needed someone else to read through it for me, and make so when I start writing chapter or volume 4, I don't start introducing a bunch of stupid ears. A library for reading the books. That is, I believe, exactly what I showed you guys at the beginning, which is this thing right here. That's order. No, not my bookworks. My bookworks. Bookworks. There we go. That one. Your history. That's what he was talking about. Yeah, that exists. I'm gonna close you out. All right. So that exists. Don't know if it's just me, but some table of contents features are bugging out. Like especially for the longer series, you can't scroll through the volumes, and the site defaults to a mobile phone less. Yep. Here's another person talking about the mobile phone thing. Yeah. So hopefully that's third person identifying this as being an issue. Website layout generally feels unfinished. Couldn't get direct sign up to work and had to use Patreon. That I'm not sure on. Nothing about this to me looks unfinished. If I click join, you get that. Now if that didn't load, then you get register. I don't know. It looks fine to me. If that's not what you saw, then contact us. I mean, you already have it working with Patreon, but once again, I feel like a lot of this is an error affecting one person and one person alone. I don't necessarily know how to fix it. You can now sponsor chapters for certain books. I was just saying how interested people are in sponsors versus memberships, and it looks to be about 50-50. Yeah, just about 50-50 on who would prefer which. So none I can lean towards. So we'll have to continue to have sponsors. We'll continue to have memberships. Will we start having points? I don't know. We'll see. Is there any sponsor you'd like to see sponsor chapters released that isn't getting them? Enslaved has gotten 2. If it gets on my schedule, it's not going to be released. Now, I recarded in a hero's former's body. That's funny because that is being sponsored right now. So you could sponsor it right now. There's no reason it doesn't be. Now, one person already wrote a girl on the sheets and they wanted it. The only reason I haven't is because I didn't have a big plan for that one. Well, a lot of people didn't seem to have any interest in it when I wrote it. And so I put it out of my mind. And I just never had an idea where I wanted to take it. And the other thing being, I can't use the sponsorship without setting up a novel, right? So, I can't, maybe I could do it in the concept novels, but I'd have to create a novel. That means I'd also have to create a cover, and I only have one chapter. So, so the principle of doing that, it might be better just to contact me and hire me directly rather than set up a sponsor for this. Because I used to do, that's used to be how I did sponsors, was people would contact me and they'd pay me through PayPal, $30, and I'd agree to write the chapter, and then I'd put it out in a couple weeks. And you do that. If you want to contact me, and if we agree on something, it can be a new book, it can be It can be an old book. It can be one of the concepts. Modern Warfare. That's another one that wouldn't be bad to have concept chapters for. But no one mentioned Modern Warfare, which is a little disheartening because I really did want Modern Warfare to continue on. I think that one would be a good book. I had some good ideas about it, at least. I had that epiphany moment. Automatic Girlfriend. Anything releasing weekly is very unlikely to get a bonus sponsor. Automatic Girlfriend, good. I get to sponsor that. Like I said, I Reincarnated in the Years Far Apart had a sponsored chapter. I think it got sponsored at the second of this month, and I need to write the next chapter. But yes, it exists. So if you wanted to sponsor it, you could be sponsoring it right now. Tales of Seductress. That's one of those, like I said, that's going to be put back on the schedule when I'm ready to write it. At some points, like I said, there's no amount of paying me money that's just going to make me write certain things when I'm just not ready. And so that's why some things get put on hiatus for half a year. Requiem. My biggest issue with Requiem, if I were to write a sponsor for that, is some people get really pissed at me. Like, I've gotten people angry at me because what happens is I'll write a volume and I'll finish a volume and then I'll be done. And then someone will come at me and be like, hey, get me the next chapter, get me another chapter, give me a bonus chapter, I'll pay for it. So I do, and I do their bonus chapter, and then somebody else comes along, they read the first volume, and then they see only 1 or 2 or 5 chapters from the next volume, and they're like, hey, why'd you give it up? Why'd you abandon the series? And I'm like, I didn't abandon the series. I wrote the volume, and then someone sponsored me to write, an extra chapter, and I wrote that. But, it's not like I started the next volume. You guys kind of just sponsored me into it. That's how Reincarnated Hero is at the moment, by the way. I just kept getting people winning the premium polls demanding to have it. And that's where we at. My Dungeon Love currently resides on YouTube and TikTok. This is another thing I was just trying to tell people that it existed and see if how many people are that interested. There's a couple people interested, but to be honest, it wasn't really being done for you guys. I explained it earlier. It's being done to try to bring new readers into my Whatsawhizzer sphere. So hopefully I can, get more hits on my website. So they're the ones I'm trying to attract. So as someone even here says, I think you're taking on too much. Well, I need to take on these things because that's what allows people to know I exist and brings them to me. What other book would you like to see done to? Once again, it's almost an even split. If one of these had been winning out of all the others, it would be a good, that's the one you guys want. And I'm not seeing that here. Bacterium would probably be the most likely, though. I could imagine getting written up. Not Apocalypse, probably Bacterium. This was just to tell you things existed, tell you I haven't forgotten about them, and to kind of ask, would you be interested in paying for a complete audiobook up with AI narration? I expect more people to say no because a lot of people aren't going to buy stuff anyway. But 11 people saying yes means I could potentially have 11 sales or 25% of my audience willing to buy it. So I feel it's worth doing. Is kind of where I get from that conclusion, and it seems even more worth getting the printed books out. Now, going into the printed books, one of my biggest hurdles is my Dungeon Life. I'm sure most people want my Dungeon Life as the printed one. The first book I put out and the second book I put out, and for some reason Amazon went behind me and banned the first book. They did not ban the ebook, they only banned the hardcover, and I have no clue why. And getting them to unban it is kind of a pain in the butt. And also, I'm almost afraid to do it because the more I bug them, the more they'll look at my account with scrutiny. And if they see something they don't like, they could even ban my entire account. And once I lose that account, then I lose access to that income. Amazon's done that to me once prior, where they insta ban me. They're very unforgiving and unrelenting, and their emails are all AI, and they won't come back. If what I'm saying, it's hard to get hold of a person who will actually fix your issue. They'll use AIs for like the first 3 or 4 emails, and you'll have to keep sending emails until they'll finally do it. I do not know why they blocked it. My fear is that I accidentally sent them the hardcover that had the erotic images in it, because for a while I put my erotic images in the ebooks I used to make. I don't do that anymore, by the way. I actually haven't been made ebooks in a long time, but I stopped putting the images in the ebooks. But I'm afraid that with that one I had accidentally done that, and that's why they banned it, because it had erotic images in it. But I don't know. I literally don't know why they blocked it. They don't tell you. They just say there's something in it we didn't like, and then they block it. So I would like to try to get the book printed, but that's the first hurdle I'd have to get over, is figuring out why they blocked that book. How much would you pay for a paperback? $15 seems to be the winner. So $15 is probably what I would charge. I might charge a little less. I might charge $14 or something, just because I don't like to overcharge people. Usually what I would charge, I'd probably charge just enough that I make the same profits that I make off of the ebooks. So the ebooks I make about $4.50 for every sale, which means on Amazon it costs $6.50, and on my site it only costs $5. But however much this stuff costs, I probably try to make it so I'm making about $4.50. Of the stories below, how would you allocate my time? And like I said, that's part of the reason I never got them up, is because there's always been some issue. The other issue is that the book covers tend to not work well. They're very anal about them. I like how they develop them or whatever. I would love to get the paperbacks up, though. I might have to not use Amazon. I might have to come up with an alternative service, but I'm not sure. I'd have to look if new services have. 5 years ago, Amazon was all you could use. I don't know if it's changed since then. If there's another place that would make books for me that are per order, rather than having me to have to order. See, I don't want to have to order 1,000 of them and pay my own money and then sell them later myself, or personally sell them. I would much rather have you order it and then send out one per. And Amazon's the only company really big enough to be able to do that. So I'm not sure. That's been the issue with paperbacks from the beginning. I know Amazon's expanded, but like I said, they also banned a book for a random reason. I have no clue why. Some of my books on there are questionable, and I don't want to give them a reason to suddenly just delete it. Honestly, now would be a good time, because I don't get a lot of money from Amazon. So if I wanted to push my limits and see, now would be a time. Back 3 years ago, most of my income was coming from Amazon. But since I haven't put out ebooks in the last 3 years, it's actually dropped quite a lot. So I do not make a lot of money on Amazon anymore. So if they ban me today, it wouldn't affect me too much. But if I start releasing ebooks again en masse and the sales start shooting up, then they could seriously affect me if I got canceled, and that's always concerning. How should I allocate my time? This is kind of what I was talking about with my schedule, how it could be affected. It's still saying MDL is the one I should give the most time to, but the second one's Women's Pleasure Dungeon. It's telling me I should be writing Women's Pleasure Dungeon. So, these 3, bringing those back. Oops, I Banged My Bully's Mom, yeah. I'm probably going to keep Oops, I Banged My Bully's Mom as a sponsored chapter, though, instead of bringing it on as a release. Now, I was shocked. Apocalypse is so low. Like, I expected Apocalypse to be higher, because this almost tells me that Apocalypse should be taken off the list, and I'm a little loath to do that. Like, I don't want to, but that's what the survey's telling me, and I'm wondering if I should just follow what the survey says, because this says, at the very least, I should be doing Automatic Girlfriend, if not Oops, I Banged My Bully's Mom on Tuesdays instead of Apocalypse, and that I should put Apocalypse away for a while. So I could finish this volume of Apocalypse and then shelve it for a bit, because it doesn't seem to be getting the numbers. And then that's what I'm saying, like how important it is to do these surveys. I only have 48 responses here, so I might just have to do a single one question poll. You know, what chapter do you, because I can't just pick up everything. Like I'll pick up Women's Pleasure Dungeon. I will pick that up, and at some point I'm going to try to figure out how to get Enslaved in there too. So these two are going to be pickups on top of what I'm already writing. I'm not going to necessarily write more, but I don't know. I don't know how I could fit Oops, I Banged My Mom in without dropping Apocalypse. I could drop Apocalypse and fit that in. And then I could write Oops until it's finished, because it's already, whatever. You know, like I said, it's only got about 30 or 40 chapters left, so that's, you know, about 10 months. It'd be done in less than a year. And then I can go back to Apocalypse after it's done. I've certainly put Enslaved on a longer hiatus, and it's still popular. So the fact that Apocalypse is currently coming out and it's not that popular is just kind of telling me maybe it's worth putting it on hiatus for a while. Anyway, how do you want me to focus my time? Once again, I consider writing more chapters faster to be the general, you know, what I do. Had there been some big push to say, hey, I want all those image galleries done, I might have been working on those. I'm shocked nobody put releasing ebooks, because I thought that was one of the things. But I do know a lot of my money is tied into releasing ebooks, and so I need to start releasing ebooks on Amazon again. And that's going to start this month. It's probably going to start with Man of the House. I'm going to get those 3 books out, and then I'm going to start, you know, with the other stuff. There's a lot of ebooks that have not been released. So many ebooks. Yeah, well, I see you're talking about the slow releases making it less popular. I've heard people say they want 2 chapters a week, but like I said, Enslaved hasn't been released in 2 years almost at this point, and it's still getting 14 people begging for it. Where Apocalypse, you know, if the only reason Apocalypse is popular is because I was releasing 2 chapters a week, then maybe it's not that popular, you know. Like if my dungeon life, you know, if I'm releasing it 3 times a week now, if it was getting less than something being released once a week, it's kind of telling me that the thing I'm releasing once a week, you know, is just that much more popular, and that's where I should put my time. So how much I'm releasing it also kind of informs me. Like Bacterium here kind of tells me, yeah, it's popular, but it's also releasing more, so it's not as popular as it seems. Because if it was releasing only once a week, I bet Bacterium would probably be only getting 3 or 4, along with these other ones. The one that actually caught me the most off guard is I Reincarnated into Hero's Former Body, because everybody loved that when it was being written, and I thought that would be one of the winners here, that people would be wanting it back. But you know, I wrote a sponsor chapter, and people aren't even sponsoring it, and now that we've done the survey, no one seems to be wanting it, and I'm shocked, because I thought that was the story everybody loved and really wanted, other than Enslaved, and World of Women finished, so you know that's done. Anyway, we're already past 9 o'clock, so I blew my out. I only have a few more questions left. We're almost done. The abandoned work's like the last section. Okay, which story you like to see written the most? This one was another one that surprised me. I was really expecting Daddy's Home to win. That one I thought would be the best story that people, because a lot of people like Man of the House, I thought they would like another incest story involving, a similar gender bender. I've had a lot of people ask for it, but it got only 20%. It was the smallest. I also thought a lot of people would want World of Women 0, because World of Women used to be the biggest book on my site, and everybody loved World of Women, and I would have thought they would want a story that returned to the roots of that. But the one that ended up winning is the new one, and that totally shocked me. And that's also seems to coincide with the question before it. Which would you prefer for a new series? Most people preferred a completely new IP, new series, new idea, rather than visiting old stuff or revisiting the world. So this was the concept, and this was the actual execution of that concept, and both seem to point towards I should be writing this. I mean, if I'm ever going to have time to do it, right? Like when I have extra time, I'll write it. But I need to be caught up with my premium chapters first, and not have sponsor chapters up the yin yang and things like that. Okay, Isekai no Monogatari was an entire comic strip. Yeah. I'm probably gonna post it back online. I thought some people would just want it to be a quick ending. Allegedly, he's very close to being the Demon Lord. That's not to say I had it specifically being planned to end soon, but I could feasibly end it within. But nobody said that. Like, only one person said just get it finished. A lot of people just want it to continue, at least those that want it. And so yeah, things need to align. I've not been able to get in contact with that author again, and he kind of charged a lot too. A lot of money I don't have anymore. I used to have a lot of more extra money that, like I said, I was making more. If anyone's curious I've said it online before, but I was bringing in about anywhere from 8,000 to 10,000 a month, which is close to 100,000 a year, and close to over 100,000 a year. And now I'm bringing home about 5,000 to 6,000 a month, and so that's the difference between me being comfortable and doing great and me not. Because now America, some of you overseas are probably just going, holy crap, you make way too much money. But here in America where I live, $100,000 is not, it's barely enough to afford a home anymore. I got in right before, the interest rates jumped back up, but I still ended up having to spend an arm and a leg for a house. And it's just the way it is nowadays. So, anyway, what are we moving on to? I also get to pay to have a manga. I was doing the manga for a while. It's hard to find a good artist that's willing to do it for cheap. I don't like to have too much involvement in it because that takes time out of my day. So I need to find someone who's not just willing to do the drawing, but is willing to construct the script so they have to read the chapter, construct the script, and then move forward with me. That's a lot to ask from somebody. So I found people who have done it on Fiverr. I got 7 volumes done. To finish the book, I probably need another 5 volumes. I don't know. I can try AI. I have no clue how AI would look, how it would do it. But that would also, even if I was going to do it with AI, it would take a lot of work. Because it would take first having me to kind of work out what I wanted each frame to look at and what the script looks like. Because you'd have to write the script first. And then trying to use AI to make I'd probably have to use AI to make each panel. And then once I got the panel made, I had to combine them. Like I said, it would be a lot of work. It would be each manga would probably be close to 30 or 40 hours of work. And I don't know if I have that kind of time to do that. There seemed less enthusiasm here for people to finish this. Some say finish V1. Some want all of WoW doing. That would take forever. But they do say they consider donating, so that kind of interests me. No one was willing to donate to see the comic strips done. But if people are willing to pay for the comics, then because they can make money for me. Because every comic book I do, I sold for the same price I sold the ebook for. So, I can make money from them. So, at the very least, I'll relist the old ones I used to have. I'll look into what AI looks like if I try to use AI to do it. And then we'll see where we get. But like I said, it would involve a lot of time. Just that script making takes a lot of time. And then you get, something that's almost right, but not quite right. Oh, it's so frustrating with AI sometimes. I really wish I had somebody who wasn't an artist, but was a good Photoshopper. And I could just make the thing I wanted, give it to him, and just say, can you fix that, and that? And he could just tweak it and then be done. That's what I really would love. I don't need an artist anymore, an illustrator. I'm past those, but I could really use a good Photoshop guy. Speaking of abandoned projects, there's Harem. Some people say at least write the story. Yeah, but there's never been any interest in the story. I put it on the lists occasionally, and it never gets this. This was a little disheartening that if I got a Kickstarter, there's only 2 people that would have any interest in supporting the Kickstarter, because that's kind of what this whole thing would be fringed on. Would be I would develop the game, then I'd open up a Kickstarter for it, and if I could get enough money, that would print out the cards and get them, sold. But there just doesn't seem to be a lot of interest from, at least among the 40 people who are here. Power of Creation is being rewritten. I've already decided to put that in my list, so it actually got a lot of people still interested in seeing that. It was my original intent all the way back from when I originally wrote Power of Creation and finished it. It was my intent to write this. It actually ties into the overall narrative. It just never got finished. So this rewrite should happen. And I found AI that's able to actually make those changes more efficiently than I can. And so I just need to use the AI, generate the images, and then pop out the chapters. It's just a matter of, it takes an hour or two of fiddling around to do it. At some point, Rookie, he contacted me and gave me the rights to Bonded Goddess, and I was wondering if I should bring it over. Now, what I got from this is most people don't really care. I mean, a lot of people said bring it to the site at least, but very few people said they'd like me to continue it. I maybe bring it to the site just means you didn't read it and you're not aware of it, and so you want to see it on the site so you can see if you want to read it. I could. I'm gonna ask him and make sure that's what we agreed on. I know he offered to sell me the rights and he needed some help or something, and I'm pretty sure he gave me the rights, but I'm probably gonna want it in writing before I start trying to make money from it. And if I can't get a hold of him, then there's that. That happens too. All right, this one was a big question for me, or one I was very interested in. MDL, it's gotten to a point where his family's involved, so there could be incest involved, and I read a lot of incest, and I read a lot of that stuff, so I wanted to know if having that stuff is okay, or if it's going to completely ruin the story. It seems that the vast majority of the people who at least got to this point in my survey all are said that it's great and fine. A few try to exclude the mother. Only 2 cared that was demand that it's completely platonic. I don't know, because I'm also like, even if if 60% are completely for it, if I lose 40% of my thing because I focus too much on it, I don't know. I mean, the sex scenes would always be bonus chapters anyway, because that's how that whole series is written. But we'll see. I still haven't really decided. It does lean towards, because the story I have in my head would have a bit more incest. the like I mean, the next story, like clearly the next volume is going to be about the mother, and it's a volume that's going to contain, not like flat out, hardcore or anything, but it is going to contain a modicum of an incestuous tension to it. But if I do it, it probably won't be any worse than Apocalypse, unless there might be a bonus chapter that includes just the whole shebang. But once again, those are skippable. So I'm gonna probably write it in a way that it's skippable. I think I just owe it to the people who aren't interested in that stuff. But I'm always gonna add flirtatious scenes. I can't help it. I like the foolish kind of forbidden love new stuff. I don't know. It's not necessarily the incest I like. It's just the whole forbidden love kind of stuff that makes me laugh. Anyway, final one we got here. I was releasing Whatsawhizzer Diary. Should I keep releasing it? I think most people said I should. Was that going to be on my schedule too? I was going to put that in with the Saturday releases. I don't know. We'll see. I would like to start releasing it officially. Did I put it on this? I can't remember if I put it on the newsletter. I wanted to. It was my original to schedule it the same as the other, so that I actually release it when it's supposed to. But I might have forgotten to put it in there. Yeah, I put the zoo and park creation, but I don't think I mentioned that. I probably aim to try to get it to release. I might pick Saturday, although that's going to put a lot of stuff on Saturday. We'll see. I do want to start releasing it though, so it might start. Anyway, these stuff is pointless. This is just for, if you were unfamiliar, that question back at the beginning, this is where it would have sent you. And then in comments, if you have any issues with the site, this has been mentioned like 3 times, but yes, I believe the ebooks are fixed and there's no problem with it. Fixed after I didn't fix the grandfathered in. I just don't have grandfathered accounts anymore. Every account works. You can't be grandfathered in if they all work. I'm done more specific. And this year's chapter releases, not sure if it's due to the editor or like they give your attention. It depends on what story you're talking about. Yeah, it really depends on. I don't know. He said misplaced words. It's probably, like I said, an editor. I think there's a lot of people, and like I said, I don't know who this person is, but I have an editor who goes behind me and edits stuff. But the oldest stuff has the most editing. It's been gone over the most times. It's been fixed the most. It's had the most corrections. So the newer stuff is always going to have more mistakes than the older stuff. So when you start a story, you start reading My Dungeon Life. Volume 1 has been edited 4 times. It's gonna be cleaner than by the time you get to V24 with a chapter I put out 3 weeks ago. It's just the kind of the nature of the beast. I do have an editor who goes through behind and edits, but he doesn't usually just edit everything reliably. He kind of likes to do things in lumps. So he'll do an entire volume and then move to the next story and do that volume, and then do the next story, do that volume. He doesn't just sit there. I used to also have a volunteer but he got sick and he retired. So I'm happy to have more of editors. If anyone else wants to volunteer to edit, I usually offer a free membership if you're editing my work. It's usually just I'll give you one book that you just go through the whole book, and I'll give you a couple months free for that. About a month per volume that it's edited, and yeah, I could always use more edits. Some stories, the edits never got in like they're supposed to. Some stories sometimes something happens and I get an older version that overwrites the newer version and we lose some edits. I know my editor's also complained he's had issues with edits. But anyway, do you have any comments for me? These are kind of things I like reading because most people are pretty nice about them. You're doing great work. I really like this stuff. I've got no real complaints. Yeah, I try to be transparent. Sometimes I'm too transparent, but I hope people appreciate because I don't know when to shut up. So I just tell everything like I see it. And, you don't have to agree with me, but that's the logic I'm following. From someone currently buried neck deep in BS of life, I'm glad that this is helping you get through your dark times. I really do appreciate it. MDL is amazing. My country can't do it money-wise, so $10 is very difficult. I gotta say tough luck, but there's not much I can do. You don't have to pay $10. You can pay $2. You'll only get one book. But that's just kind of it. You can buy the books. That's another option, but those are $5 each. But books are expensive, like I said, and I'm one of the cheapest out there. So I read you since 2 years, and I really like your work, especially my dungeon life. I'm a computer scientist, and I'm interested in your project of a card game. Do you want to create a video game like Magic Area or a print game? To answer the question, and please contact me, whoever this is. What I want to do when I'm talking about the card game is I want to create a card video game, something visually very similar to Solitaire, where I can upload the cards. So I want a directory with a card TIFF, and it would be the image of the card location and then the stats that the card runs. And I would like to be able to adjust those stats. So my hope is that I'll be able to play the game rapidly many times on my own so I can decide what numbers, just so I can balance the game, essentially. And then I want to use that video game as a award for my Kickstarter. So I'll give you all Kickstarter, and you'll get the game if you donate like $5, and you can play the game. And then once the Kickstarter is met, you can go ahead and then I'll get the deck. So that's what I want. So I want to print the game, but in order to print the game and sell the cards, I want the video game first. So the video game is what's going to help me balance and go to the next step. So I probably shouldn't be showing his email address. Anyway, I'll probably contact him because it looks like he left me some information. How I'd like to find some time to read about Kleinborn's Isekai story again, see what Dale's up to nowadays. So like an extra follow-up story. There is going to be a follow-up story for Moth, and there is going to be a follow-up story for, not a follow-up story, but when I write the ebooks, there will be extra bonus chapters that go in afterwards. So that's the intent of those. Thank you. Please don't look hard of negative comments. I appreciate the most negative I don't get a lot of negative comments on my own site, but I do get negative comments on like Scribble Hub and stuff. There are people who really hate me. You know what's really funny? If I ever go to like a writing site and try to ask about writing, they hate me. They really do. If I just say, hey, I'm a somewhat successful author, can anyone give me advice on how to be more successful? They hate that. They're like, are you trolling us? And I'm like, well, why can't I? Like they feel like if you make any money of your writing, you're already a successful author, and how dare you, that I must be bragging or humble bragging or something by trying to ask for advice on how to improve. Like I was just asking for questions about how to PR it, how to get an agent. I'm just like, because like my writings are decent. I feel like I should be able to get an agent. You'd think if you could successfully make money off your writing for a long period of time, somebody, an agent, would want to be able to say, hey, this guy can write. He can write stuff that people want to read. You think me as an agent, I would come there, but no, that's not how it's done. You gotta do things the the grinder way, where you just send out a bazillion offers to agents, and I don't know. Like, it's just funny how angry and bitter other writers get when I talk to them about my middling success in my niche area. You think I was I don't know, mocking their entire life or something. And the funny thing is, have them have lives. It's like I write full time. Like, that's like the majority of my income comes from. So I worry about it. Most of these people are like, they'll write on the side, and they'll be like so angry. Anyway, we're getting near the end, so let's just keep going. Writer life is hard. Yeah, my writer life's not too hard. I mean, my life is hard, but that's more self-inflicted. The actual writing part, I really enjoy. I love you guys. I love writing. I love being able to do this. So I really do hope to be able to keep doing it. Please start re-releasing ebooks again. Yeah, I'd love to. Like I said, there were some questions back there that showed people weren't that interested, which caught me off guard. Thank you all. Hard work. I still will, though, because there's a lot of money in it. I mean, there is. I need to be. I mean, like I said, I used to make $3,000 of the money I used to make. What came from book sales. I mean, the book sales were crazy when they were at their top. As a free reader, good luck with your novel. Hopefully, my financial isn't so I can subscribe as well. That's all I can hope for, is that I got a few free readers who are more interested in potentially following, because that's the best I can hope for. Please start releasing ebooks again. Yep. I don't know if I just reread the same one or if there's another one. Just reread the same one. I'm a casual reader, but I enjoy your work for years. Man of the House is almost proper literature. You have a talent. Man of the House, I am trying to rework a little bit so it's a little better. Hopefully it'll be. Keep up the great writing, and can't wait to see what some of the sponsor-only stories are headed. Yeah, I actually am having a lot of fun with Oops, I Banged My Mom, and I'm really enjoying Women's Pleasure Dungeon. Those two are a lot of fun to write right now. I like your work, and I want you to see it. Do what makes you motivated and happy. And that's it. That's all the comments. So, 57 people is not, a big thing, but yeah. We reached the end. The survey. I don't know if anyone has any other questions for me. It looks like the air. It looks like he figured out how to fix it. Does that mean I can go over here and? Oop, not that one. If I go back here and click on this, it won't do it. Yay! It looks like it's fixed. All right. See? He's fast. He gets the stuff fixed. Coco Attic has just done so much, for me for the last year, that he's set up everything I've wanted done, and he's really been essential. I mean, he's the one who's made this site like it currently is, and got all that stuff working. Before it was just a cobbled together mess of plugins, and I had one guy who was helping keep it running, but it was a mess. It needed a redo, and I think it's a lot nicer now, a lot smoother. And I think most people who aren't finding what they want in it, it's probably there. You just don't realize it. Although the comic book and stuff are not. If anyone has any questions, otherwise I can call it an end. Looks like I have supper to enjoy. I'll wait another 2 seconds to see if anyone has anything else to say. Yeah, here's the ebook. This is what I wanted to show. So you have the Amazon, the Smashwords, and then the download. This says download because I've already bought it. And this says buy with voucher because I have a voucher to buy it. If I used up all my vouchers, it would then say buy $5. That's all I really wanted to say with that. So all these are not ones I own. But if I run into one I own, yeah, I own that one. It says download. So, I mean, I own them all, but this account, I've only bought them as help. All right, I don't see anybody asking any questions, so I'm gonna call it a night. Thank you all for stopping by. I started with 5. I still got 5, so a lot of you stuck with me for 3 hours. I don't think it climbed up. And other times I've done it, it's like climbed up to 10 or 13 people for a little bit, but I drone on, so I understand people get bored. But if you want to watch this, or if you watch, thank you for watching, and appreciate it. And I hope you enjoy my works, and I'll continue to write for the near future. Thank you. And bye-bye.